Because
on this day, in 1977, Studio 54 opened for business at 254 West 54th Street in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Over the next 3 years, celebrity guests include Mick Jagger, Elton John, Michael Jackson, David Bowie, Donald Trump. Well, they mentioned that here.
Not me, even though I lived a block away.
You never went to Studio 50. You would not have been.
You think they would? They would not let me in the studio.
Well, they didn't even let Chic in, which is why they wrote that song, Le Freak.
I saw the big line. There were always big lines out in front at night, and but yeah, no, they would not let me in.
Chic wrote that song in 1978, Le Freak, after being refused entry to the club on New Year's Eve 1977, despite having been invited by Grace Jones. Grace Jones you didn't try that, Bill? Grace Jones invited me.
No, I didn't. I should have.
Bill was standing outside going, "Come on, I'm a friend of Steve." Steve Rubel. Steve Rub.
Ruben.
Rebel.
There you got it.
Don't you know who I? You didn't. Don't you know who I am?
I would even go there wearing my Good and Plenty T-shirt, and they wouldn't let me in.
No,
it said Good and Plenty right on it.
What was New York like back in 1977, Bill?
It was dirty, and Times Square was really funky, and there were, Jerry James, who I've mentioned many times. So I lived with Jerry and his wife Kathleen on 54th Street. I think it was. It was 55th Street. Studio 54 was on 54th. And so, it was a little tiny apartment, but they were gracious and let me live there until I got my own place. And but you'd go through Times Square. There were porn shops and all of that, and live sex shows. And Jerry, as I recall, he's a theater man, stage managed a live sex show for a while for money.
It needs stage managing.
Sure. Gina, there are props. There's
lighting?
Furniture to move around. There's lighting. Things need to be hosed down all the time. Yes, there is stage management. You just go out there and have sex in front of people.
What's my motivation?
Yeah, exactly. Line.
You need but you need organization.
I guess.
What do you mean you guess? It's a theatrical event.
Okay.
Just like any other.
Okay.
Except people are naked and they're doing it. I have to get a hold of Jerry and have him send me a remembrance. He's a pretty good writer. Have send me a remembrance of that.
A sex show remembrance.
Yeah. I think he sent me, it's after I think I'd left New York, and he sent me a letter telling me all about it.
You're like, why didn't you tell me this when I was there?
But I guess there's none of that there anymore. They cleaned Times Square up, and they ruined it. It was just ruined.
It's ruined?
Ruined.
There's the M&M store there now. That's what's there.
And Carrie and I went to New York. It was still pretty grimy when we were there that time.
Yeah.
And we went to not Planet Hollywood, to
Hard Rock?
Hard Rock. And remember the guy who was the doorman there? I'm the heart and soul of the Hard Rock Cafe. Man, that's me. Come on in.
It's closed
let us
now,
into
isn't
the
it?
Hard Rock.
It's not open anymore, is it?
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
No. It was, but it was.
Do you miss it?
The year that I lived there, I had a really good time. I mean, I didn't have any money to speak of, but you could get along without much money. The things that were expensive were rent and utilities. Other than that, you could find cheap food. You could find,
cheap entertainment.
Yeah, cheap entertainment. Live sex shows.
Yeah. Were those cheap? How
Hey,
much?
I know the stage manager.
I know the stage manager.
Let me in.
Jerry.
I'm a friend of Jerry.
Yeah. You're not going to let me into Studio 54, but let me into the. Come on. Look, I'm wearing my Good and Plenty T-shirt. Jerry sent me a picture. I'll put it up maybe Monday or something of Jerry and his wife Kathleen on either side of me, and we're kind of. It's kind of a kissing
group
pose.
hug.
And I forgot I had this T-shirt that's like Good and Plenty Candy. And I'm wearing a T-shirt.
You keep saying that, and I didn't know what you were referencing.
It's candy.
Yeah, it's those little licorice.
Oh no, I know it's candy, but you kept saying T-shirt. I'm like, why?
And I'm wearing a T-shirt that's got Good and Plenty on it.
Bill Allred, Good and Plenty.
I didn't have any shame back then. None. But I did have a great time in New York.
You know, we joke all the time about that Bill's have had adventures.
I've lived a life.
And I have not.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, your adventures scare me. But I am a little jealous that you have experiences and stories that I will never have.
Well, I'll tell you one quick story about New York. I was out down in the East Village, I think it was, and I left a party, and I was by myself, and it was kind of foggy and cold, and I wasn't quite sure where the subway stop was to get to my apartment up on the Upper West Side. And so I turned down the street, and I look down the street, and I see all these barrels, trash barrels, and they're on fire. You know, they're like, and there are people standing around them, warming their hands. And I start walking down, and I go, oh, I know where I am. This is the block that the Hells Angels occupy.
Oh.
And it was all these Hells Angels.
Did you run into them in San Francisco, too?
Yes, I did. Yes, as a matter of fact, I did. That was years before that. But and I thought, should I turn around and go back? I thought, no, I'll just keep going. I kept walking, and they just, how's it going? Hey.
Yeah.
You know, they had sentries outside. They owned a bunch of apartments, buildings or something along there.
We're into real estate now.
That's right.
It's a tremendous future.
They don't mess with you. You know, if you don't mess with them, they're not going to mess with you.
Yeah.
As a general rule.
Land is the one thing they're not making any more of.
Isn't that true? I've heard that.
So there. Keep walking.
Your hands cold? Stand around the trash barrel with us.
New York City.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
This has been Farting Around with Carrie, Bill, and Gina on X96, Radio from Hell.